there is this line in your book, and it's right off the top. And I literally kind of stopped reading right there. And you said, I sat there forever, shivering so hard the barrel was bouncing off my teeth. Like, do you remember that sound?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that feeling?
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
That was 16 years ago, and I think anybody who has a trauma history like mine eventually gets to that place or that point in their life where, you have to make a decision. Am I going to live or am I going to die? And for me, that was that moment. Um, and I like, I didn't want to end my life, but I was completely exhausted from living in emotional pain and suffering for the majority of my life. And, I tried everything on the planet to get rid of this. And, you know, when I couldn't pull the trigger, that was a sign that, I better figure this out, right? I better figure out how to live with all of this trauma, right? And, that was the beginning of this journey that I've been on for the last 16 years is, figuring out how to live life on life's terms, right? And come to some sort of understanding and peace with with what happened to me, right? And thank God I've been able to figure it out. But the book was the turning point in my life, right? Is when I sort of transitioned from being Theo Fleury, the hockey player, to Theo Fleury, the advocate and the activist, right? Because it was unbelievable how many people during that book tour came up to me at the book signing table and said, "Me too," right?
wow.
Or, "Hey, I read your story. You told my story. Me too," right? And yeah, so I've been in this space now since then, working in trauma, mental health, and addiction. And so, um, you know, I really believe it's the true purpose for my life. I always thought I was just going to be a hockey player and then, sort of fade off into the sunset. But, the universe had a bigger plan for me. Right. And, gave me this voice and I definitely use it at every opportunity I get to talk about, the, what I think is the biggest epidemic on the planet. It's not COVID-19. It's trauma, mental health, and addiction is the biggest,
Right.
epidemic on the planet.
Right. It's a difficult place to be, and I can only imagine what you've been through. And I know for myself is that there's this suffering in silence and an embarrassment. And for me, it was that I've been a business owner, I have led teams, and I thought that that wasn't something that I could share with people because I wouldn't be able to get them to follow me anymore. Like if I have
Right.
a drinking problem, they're not going to follow me anymore. If I'm depressed, they're not going to follow me anymore. What was the number one thing that you had to identify within yourself to start that healing?
Well, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, right?
Yeah.
You
So that
know,
was really the rock bottom. Like that is
yeah.
the rock bottom. And do you believe that everyone that has gone down that hole as far as you did, there's a point of no return where you just have to hit that bottom to get any better?
Well, I think everybody has their own bottom, some
Right.
more extreme than others.
Fair.
Um, to me, it was the gun, right? The
Right.
gun for me was, you know, like I, I I might not be here, right?
Mhm,
You know what I
mhm,
mean?
mhm.
And so, um, and surrender, right? Right? Surrender is a big part of it,
It's a good one.
and asking for help, right? I always say the day that I asked for help was the day that I saved my own life. Was the day I asked for help, and the stigma attached to that statement, is as an advocate, that's what I fight every single day is stigma, right? And what I tell people is if you suffer from some sort of mental illness, guess what? You're in the majority. You're not in the minority, you know? And, we have all these mental health campaigns, which the first line is always 1 in 5 Canadians. And I'm like, why are we shaming the one person who has mental illness? Why are we singling them out when actually it's 5 in 5? It's all of us.
Yeah.
Right. And so, changing the language, right? Getting rid of labels, anxiety, depression, right? Those labels keep the disease or the affliction in place, because there's no safe space to talk about depression. There's no safe space to talk about anxiety and panic disorder. There's no place to talk about OCD. There's no place to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. There's no place for that. And so being vulnerable is the key to all of this. And when you get to that place of vulnerability, that's where all the healing is, right? Is that, I don't have to carry this facade, right? Because we're all so good at wearing lipstick, right? I call it lipstick, right? When we leave the house, we're put together, right? But, the insides have to match the outsides. And you can only carry that facade for so long before you're going to have, some sort of breakdown, right? And so, the vulnerability piece to me is the key to all of this, because vulnerability creates safety. And then when you have safety, that's when the magic of healing happens, is when you feel safe, where you can talk about, all the crazy shit that you did, and nobody's going to judge you, and people understand, hey, I've been there, right? And in the book, I don't think I could have been more vulnerable in the book. Right. I just laid it all out there because I didn't care what people thought of me. I just wanted to get better, and I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. Right. And, making that choice and making that decision, changed my life.